Hey there, welcome back to Habits and Health Span, an Amway podcast. We're so glad that you're joining us once again as we learn about all things health span. My name is Alyssa, and it is so good to be with you once again. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, John, and we'll introduce her further in just a minute, but Dr. Purnima Kumar is with us as well. John, it's good to see you.
So good to see you. So good to see you, Purnima. We're excited to speak with you.
Yes. I have a question before we get started.
Okay.
Are you ready for it, John?
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say what comes to your mind when I say this word.
Word association.
Yes. All right. Dentist.
Okay. Interesting. So I think most people, when you say dentist, are going to say like shudder, scared, don't like. I actually like my dentist.
Okay.
I like going to I've had the privilege of having the same dentist my entire life.
Wow.
Father-son combo. They're incredible. Shout out to the Dr. Harmons. Regardless, I always have a great time. The dental assistants know me and my family. Even when I've been having a cavity or two or a couple, it's not like I've had flawless teeth my entire life, but they've always been so kind, so welcoming, so gentle. There's even just like a little bit of like ASMR when they're being a little gentler for me. I know everyone's listening is probably going, so John's insane.
No.
I'm getting the sense that's not the same for you though.
Well, I don't think so. I like my dentist. Mm-hmm. They do a great job. I don't love going to the dentist. So it would never be something like it's definitely feels like a have to. I understand like it is a get to because I'm grateful that I can go to the dentist and take care of my oral health, but also there are a lot of things that I enjoy doing more.
Well, it's not like this is what it's Saturday. What should I do today? I'm going to go visit the dentist.
Okay. All right. Well, that puts it into
perspective.
So I think
maybe we're on the same page.
All right.
Well, Alyssa, I can attest that your dentist is doing a fantastic job. You have a great smile. I know that my dentist is fighting the good fight to keep my smile going. And that we both like our dentist particular because we have an incredible dentist joining us here today. But that's not all that she is. No, in fact, we have with us Professor Dr. Purnima Kumar. You are an endowed professor of dentistry. You chair the Department of Periodontics in the Oral Medicine School of Dentistry at the University of Michigan. And you're also a member of the Scientific Advisory Board at Amway. Welcome, Purnima.
Thank you so much. And you know what? You just made my Monday, both of you. I have to say that. You like your dentist. If I had $1 for every time I heard, a patient tell me they hate the dentist, I would have retired by now.
Well, we're glad you didn't do that, so we're able to get you on the schedule to come talk with us today. Now, Purnima, I shared your titles, but can you share with us a little bit of your background?
Oh my gosh, how much time do you have? Mm-hmm. So I did my first dental training and my periodontal training, which is a surgical program to treat gum disease and do surgery in the mouth, right? So I did those two trainings in India. And then I was on faculty there and I worked there for some time. Then I moved to the Middle East where I was working with the Federal Ministry of Health. And then from there, I moved to England to get my second periodontal training. Found that working for the National Health Services wasn't all that, people made it out to be. And then I decided I really wanted to understand what the cause of the disease is that I'm treating. So I moved to the United States to do a PhD and to get my third periodontal training. So I did my third surgical residency in the United States at The Ohio State University. I stayed there as faculty after my training for 16 years. And 3 years ago, I moved to the University of Michigan where, I'm living the dream.
Thank you for telling us about your background. That's really incredible.
So, Purnima, my first question for you is it really just brushing and flossing, the perennial old school wisdom? Or is there more to oral health than just those two things?
Yeah, we can talk about this all day. But I'm going to start by saying something. Yes, brushing and flossing are important. Your pearly whites need to be pearly white. They need to be in your mouth. They need to be cavity free. All of those things. This is something I tell my patients, and I'm going to tell you this. I always tell my patients, the mouth is not Vegas. What happens here does not stay here. So things right? So things that happen in your mouth, they have an impact in the rest of your body, a huge impact. So literally the mouth is part, even though you go to your dentist is not just fixing your teeth. They are physicians or surgeons of one part of your body which contributes to your overall health. So they're treating your mouth to keep the rest of your body healthy. And it's not through the act of simple chewing or eating or keeping you mouth free of inflammation. It's literally a lot more than that. So I'm going to give you a very, very small example of a study we did and other people have done. And I only cite the study because, it was so cool what we found from it, right? So we did the study. We've learned that fruits that contain this chemical called anthocyanin. So red and purple fruits and berries, right? Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, all of those berries, hibiscus, the flower hibiscus. So all of these that have the purple color, they contain this pigment called anthocyanin. So that is the basic science. But what we found is that anthocyanin is useless to your body if it goes into your mouth and comes out the other way. You need bacteria in your mouth to break that anthocyanin down to active chemicals that can actually benefit you. So we tried this experiment where we gave people a blackberry nectar, a mouthwash that was enriched with real blackberries, right? And we had them hold it in their mouth like a mouthwash, spit it out, and we collected it and we analyzed to see how many breakdown products we had. And then we brought them back another day, cleaned the living daylights out of their mouth, washed their mouth out with antiseptic mouthwash, and then gave them this blackberry nectar and, had them spit it out and analyzed it. Guess what happened? That blackberry nectar came out as good as it went in when the bacteria were not there. You need those good bacteria that are your friends that help break down things in your mouth and therefore benefit the rest of your body.
So I have to ask, Purnima, you're talking about having this good bacteria in here. What does that look like when I'm trying to cultivate my oral health? Because you shared we scrubbed the heck out of these patients' mouths and we really disinfected. I go, yeah, that makes sense. I'm doing all this stuff. How do I have a good oral health without necessarily taking away the bacteria that we need?
So this is fantastic. And this is something we're learning. This is, years of study that I'm going to tell you in exactly 3 minutes, right? Let's see. Let's count down.
Wow. Okay.
But we learned something very important. And I'm leaning into this just because I'm so excited about the things that we've studied, right?
I love it.
This is truly the Terminator, right? So we're going to talk about this in terms of the Terminator. So we've learned something that every pregnant woman has, bacteria that move from her mouth through her bloodstream to the maternal side of the placenta. So now you all know the placenta has two sides to it. One is the maternal side, which is attached to the mother's uterus. And then there is the baby side, which forms the sac inside which the baby is being housed. So between the maternal side and the baby side, there are all of these blood vessels that are crisscrossing. The capillaries are crisscrossing and they're supplying nutrition and all these things, right? So bacteria travel from the mother's mouth through her bloodstream, enter the maternal side of the placenta, and they're all lined up here like good little soldiers, right? The baby's side is sitting here, but on this side, a newborn is growing, and the newborn immune system, the fetal immune system is growing inside this sac here, right? So the fetal immune system sees these bacterial proteins, which we call antigens, and is being trained to recognize them as friends. So when the baby is born and the mother takes the binky out of her mouth and puts it in the baby's mouth, she transfers saliva, spit from her mouth to the baby's mouth. And so the bacteria from her mouth enter the baby's mouth and are accepted by the baby's immune system as friends. Remember, the baby is also coming into contact with other people, the daycare person, the sibling, the father. But the mother's bacteria, 85% of the baby's good bacteria come from the mother. So it's a transfer. So there's an immune education that's beginning in utero while the baby is still in the uterus. That immune education begins. And so this community of bacteria start forming in the baby's mouth, and they continue to grow and grow and grow through adulthood and stay. So the immune system has already learned to say, you're my friends. They live with you, they stay with you, and they protect you from other pathogens from the outside that can potentially come in and colonize you. What can you do to keep them your friends? Very, very simple things. You make sure that this community is able to use oxygen, is able to have access to very small molecules of carbohydrates and proteins, and does not get overcrowded, does not get packed in. Just like you aerate your lawn, you aerate this bacterial community. And how do you aerate this bacterial community? By not letting it grow in thickness. So if these are called biofilms. These bacteria that live as communities on our teeth, they're called biofilms. They're literally like your contact lens films, right? They're thick like that, and they live on your teeth. So if it gets too thick, the bacteria that are closest to your teeth now get oxygen cut off, and they cannot use oxygen anymore. So they're not going to die. They've been living in this world since the earth was cooling, remember? So they will just switch how they feed from using oxygen to start becoming fermenting. So they start fermenting, and that's how you get all these acids that are being formed, and that's what causes cavities and gum disease and inflammation and all of these things. So how do you keep these bacteria from getting into this fermentative state? By making sure they always have access to oxygen. And so I always tell my patients, be a good gum gardener. Just mow that lawn. Keep removing the top layer of the biofilm. Keep it thin enough so all the bacteria can have access. And how do you do that? So simply brush and floss.
I am inspired. I have never heard such a compelling argument for brushing and flossing, because I mean, I know those are the things we're supposed to do, right? Mm-hmm. But this puts it into the category of moves it from duty to like life-giving practice.
There was a moment as you were talking, Purnima, where you go to, if it builds up, they're not getting oxygen. I went, I think that's why I get it. there was a light that went off. It's incredible. And then we can tell how passionate you are about it. So we're super excited to be speaking with you today.
All right. So now that I'm nice and inspired by this, and I know something very simple that I can do, I have another question for you, Purnima. How much of this is genetic disposition? What role does that play in our oral health? Because I know like there are myths out there of people having, I've heard like soft teeth, and so they're going to have more cavities, or versus people who have hard teeth and then they get lucky. I don't know. What role does genetics play in all of this, or is it what you were just talking about?
Well, genetics plays multiple different roles, and again, we haven't sorted out all of these things. So just to put it in perspective, yes, they are lifestyle-based diseases. It happens more often to people who don't have good oral hygiene. It happens more often to people who are, on the sugary, frequent sugar intake, refined food, those kinds of things. So it's very multifactorial. But there is also a role for genetics. Some people can drink up to 10 sodas a day and, get only 2 cavities, and others can drink 1 soda a day and get 20 cavities. There is a genetic susceptibility, and we haven't broken down all elements of it just yet. There's a lot of work that's going on. We know a little bit more about gum disease and genetic susceptibility, because there are certain types of gum disease that have a very clear predilection for certain ethnic groups or things. So we're learning more faster on that spectrum than we are about cavities and genetic susceptibility. But when you just think of the tooth itself, the structure of the tooth and the anatomy of the tooth and things like that, yes, there are conditions called soft teeth, and they are inherited genetic conditions, and that can happen when the enamel of your tooth is missing or is poorly formed, or the dentine, the ivory, right, the layer beneath the enamel that is poorly formed or missing or absent. And again, they are called congenital diseases, which means they happen because of some changes in your DNA itself that codes for these substances to form, right? Genetics does play a role, but exactly how much and in what way, we don't have all the answers yet.
So I'm curious then about our other lifestyle choices, the things that we can control. I'm thinking particularly stress, sleep, hydration, how this is all interconnected. How do those factors impact our oral health?
All of them. And again, we're teasing every single one of these, right? So like I said, I started this by saying the mouth is literally sitting at an intersection between the outside environment and your internal human physiology, right? So I told you remaining healthy is very important, but I never told you what jumpstarts your journey into disease. I told you how the bacteria that live in your mouth are healthy and are your childhood friends and need to be protected at all costs. But I never told you why they make the switch from being your friends to being your frenemy to your complete enemy, right? So what causes the bacteria to go rogue? And that process is scientifically known as dysbiosis. So you hear this term tossed around, like gut dysbiosis, this and that. So that essentially means a community of bacteria that lives in harmony with your immune system now turning to become inflammatory to your immune system, to cause adverse responses from your immune system. What jumpstarts that change? Some things, lifestyle habits, smoking, vaping, sometimes overuse of antibiotics or other antimicrobials, right? Those things can jumpstart that shift from a community that lives in harmony to a community that doesn't know what it's doing and starts changing. Other things can change, things that happen in your mouth are health conditions. And we know some health conditions are diabetes. People who are diabetic, in fact, gum disease, periodontitis, not gingivitis, but the unalterable form of gum disease, right? Where the bone that holds your teeth together is affected. Periodontitis is known as the 6th complication of diabetes. We know that rheumatoid arthritis is another factor that can, impact the inflammation that happens in your mouth and can cause problems there. Obesity, we're learning so much that the inflammation, the overall inflammation that caused by increase in adipose or fat cells in your body. Did you know that your fat cell is actually an immune cell and is one of the most inflammatory cells in your body? We always talk about white blood cells as being the defense and the most inflamed cells in your body, right? It's actually the fat cell. It produces a lot more inflammatory products than your white blood cells will ever do. So you have a lot of inflammation during obesity, man, and that can impact your oral health as well. So the mouth is literally sitting here at the crossroads. It's a crossroads, and you never know what it's going to get hit with or what multiple factors it can get hit with. So all of those factors can contribute. And what we're trying to do through our research is to actually understand what the cumulative risk is. So if you're a smoker and you're diabetic and you're obese, what's your risk when compared to a smoker or just a smoker or if you smoke and you vape, or if you quit smoking and started vaping? Where are you on the spectrum?
That is fascinating. All right, another question for you. What role does nutrition play in supporting strong teeth and healthy gums?
I mean, we should probably go a little beyond strong teeth and healthy gums and just talk about oral health, because there's so much of the mucosal surface, right? There's the tongue, there's the cheek, so let's focus on the whole mouth and call it oral health, yeah? So nutrition, I think, has two, especially as it relates to the mouth, because the mouth is where nutrition enters the body, right? So nutrition has a very local effect. And once it gets into the body, food gets in the body and is digested and assimilated and absorbed and broken down into component molecules, then all of that come back through the circulation into the mouth and has a very systemic effect. So when you think of the local effect, I would say, again, we're going to start with substances that increase chewing capacity, things that are, you have to chew, that make you work for it. So using your teeth to chew keeps them healthy. Your food moves from when you're chewing surface down into your cheek and then rolls up back again and goes down into your body. So all of those surfaces are kind of activated when you chew, right? And so your muscles, your cheek muscles stay up. You look younger. The more you chew, the younger you look. You have that yes, very, very, what do they call it? The sharp look, right? Very defined look, the more you're able to chew. So foods that increase chewing function, so less processed, more organic, more closer to where their origins were, right? More, that kind of food is helpful. A balanced diet, absolutely important. Staying hydrated, lots of fluids. Hydration is very important. And dehydration, avoiding dehydration is again very important. What are some things that can dehydrate? Smoking, vaping, alcohol. All of these have local dehydrating effects. And so drying up, your mouth is, you're able to talk, speak, smile, do all the things that you do because your mouth is richly covered. The lining of your mouth is covered with this beautiful glutinous substance called mucin. And mucin can dry out very, very easily, right? So you need to keep it hydrated. You need to keep it moist. So factors that help that. So in terms of nutrition, eating a balanced diet, eating a healthy diet, eating less processed food, staying hydrated, avoiding foods and other things that can dehydrate are, I would say, very central to having a nutritious diet. And then as this food, and then being able to chew, spend time chewing your food, break it down, because digestion begins in the mouth.
Maybe I'm missing this. Maybe people at home got it. You got Alyssa, and I'm just the only one out of here. How specifically is the mouth relating to everything else? Just because we're swallowing, it's going down to our digestive system because of we're taking things into our blood system through our mouth? I'm just missing the connection between the mouth and everything else just physically.
Fantastic. Every day you swallow 1.5 liters of spit, saliva. That's a lot, right? It's more water. That's more than the water that you drink.
It's a lot.
That's a fact I've never thought about before.
Think about it, right? So there's a lot of spit that's going from the mouth to the gut, right? So you think all the bacteria that live in your mouth automatically start living in your gut. But it's like, it's like the gates of hell, Dante's Iliad, right? So it's, you have all of those different portals through which these bacteria pass. And so there's several levels of filtration. And by the time it gets to the gut, only a few of the bacteria that live in the mouth, that started at the mouth, end up in the gut. So the gut is a much more filtered system, if you can think about it that way. Another fun fact is that the real estate in your mouth is the size of your hand. So the front and back of your hand, that's how much real estate, that's blood-filled real estate that's present in your mouth. That's how much there is. This is a very vascular system. And you know what happens when you get inflammation, right? So inflammation opens up your blood vessels. It's called vasculitis. It makes them more permeable, so things can pass through your blood vessels. So bacteria from your mouth, bacterial toxins from your mouth, all the inflammatory products, the products that these bacteria generate in your mouth, everything can pass through your bloodstream and can land in different portions of your body. So many things can impact the mouth, and the mouth in turn can impact so many areas, either through direct swallowing from saliva or through moving through the bloodstream. And it's not just bacteria moving through the bloodstream, it's our own response to the bacteria that can, it's called an inflammatory cascade. It's like this shower of chemicals that go through your bloodstream and cause inflammation in other parts of the body. It's toxins, it's all of the above.
It strikes me, Purnima, that for our listeners at home, even though you're still researching the accumulation of all these different factors, that they can begin chipping away and affecting their health span in all of those other areas to help their own oral health. So, Purnima, what are some of the early warning signs that people of all ages and all lifestyles should be looking for as their oral health may start to decline?
Thank you. That's very important. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And we smile at ourselves in the mirror every day. We look. So the first sign of declining oral health is usually red gums. But sometimes that's hard to see because most of the redness typically happens in the back areas of our mouth where, brushing is harder. And I'm going to bring up something very important here. I'm going to take a quick side trip here. One of the most influential quotes I have heard during, recent times is Jane Fonda's quote, where she says, we have to spend our entire lifetime preparing to get old. So with old age comes lack of dexterity. Some people complaining of, I cannot pull on my socks, I cannot tie my shoelaces. Well, if you cannot tie your shoelaces, you're not able to brush and floss efficiently in the back areas of your teeth. And more importantly, if you have other devices like dental implants that have been placed in your mouth, or crowns and bridges and lots of other work that has been done in your mouth, which already need extra care, and now you have manual dexterity to deal with, there's something to think about, right? So as we age, we need to start thinking about adding or modifying our oral hygiene practices to accommodate those deficits that we are acquiring, right? So we have to start thinking about those things as well.
Purnima, this is such good information, and somehow I feel like you have defied all of the odds that I came into this conversation with, in that I not only have tangible things that I can do and work on, but I feel like it's reaching my heart too. Like I want to do it. And that's incredible to me. We are getting to the point of our program where we like to ask our guests about one small daily change that our listeners can make, that we can make to boost our oral health for the long term. What would you say to that?
So, quick answer. Take a good hard look at your current oral hygiene practice and tailor it to your needs. this is your opportunity to make it work for you. Look and see, am I brushing? Am I flossing? Do I need to floss twice a day? Am I good with once a day? Or am I doing it only once a day? Do I need to do it twice a day? Am I using the right kind of flosser? Can I switch to an air floss, a water floss, one of those things? So I would say customize your oral care to maximize its benefits for you. You don't have to do the same thing. This is one time when you don't have to live up to the Joneses. Do what works for you.
Incredible. Purnima, well, that's enough questions from me and Alyssa, but we actually have a couple more. We have some listener questions for you. So everyone listening at home, if you have questions for any of our guests in this episode or upcoming episodes, feel free to send them to us on our socials or leave them in a comment on YouTube. But Purnima, we got a couple rapid fire listener questions for you.
Sure.
All right. First one. Should I use mouthwash before or after brushing?
Before. Because, the mouthwash plays a very important role in dislodging a lot of the bacteria that already live on your mouth and are forming these biofilms, and it starts acting on them. So when you brush your teeth, there's a lesser chance of these bacteria, especially if you have inflamed gums, there's a lesser chance of these bacteria spreading through your blood vessels to the rest of your body and things like that, right? So the maximum benefit. We actually did a study on this during COVID and learned that.
Wow. All right. Next question. What's the best way to brush my teeth?
Brush.
Okay, there's no wrong way. You brush them.
Well, the important thing is the 2-minute is very helpful, right? But again, the 2-minute is not the maximum. It is the minimum recommended period. Some people will need longer than 2 minutes to brush their teeth. And do not scrub at your teeth. Wailing away at your teeth is really not beneficial. The horizontal scrub motion will simply remove enamel where your tooth meets your gum and cause more problems and cause your gums to recede sometimes. And if you feel like you're exerting too much pressure on your teeth and you're wailing away at your teeth, then maybe switching to a motorized toothbrush will help take that the pressure variable out of the equation, so you're not guessing. That guessing game goes away. So not using a scrub motion, not using too much pressure, using a minimum requirement of 2 minutes, and brushing twice a day.
All right. That's great. Okay. And last question. Why is fluoride used in toothpaste?
So fluoride is one of the smallest ions, in molecules or ions in atoms in chemistry, right? So the good news is, because it's so small and so reactive, it can penetrate through a lot of substances, and it can very quickly form complexes or compounds with other molecules. And once it forms those molecules, compounds, it makes them stronger. So it's hard to dislodge because it's so reactive. It grabs on and will not be dislodged, which it makes things harder. So fluoride has an important role in hardening your enamel. Fluoride has many benefits, but one of the most important tangible benefits is that it hardens your enamel. So it protects you from cavities. It's key. And not everyone has access to fluoridated water, right? What fluoride in their water? I mean, we are talking throughout the world. There are people who are walking 10 miles to get a can of drinking water just to fill. So one of the most predictable ways of delivering fluoride, where it has the most impact, local impact, without getting to the rest of your body, is through toothpaste. And so given how much benefit it can offer you, it's important to have fluoride in toothpaste.
Well, there we have it. Those are our listener questions for today. If you have any more questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to send them to us on our socials or leave a comment. And hey, while you're there, make sure that you like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe on YouTube. In the meantime, Purnima, thank you so much for visiting with us today and sharing all of your knowledge. I can tell how passionate you are about what you study and what you do. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you. This is wonderful. I love these questions, and I hope together we've, talked through some of the things that help just not to keep our mouth healthy, but the rest of our body healthy. Remember, the mouth is not Vegas. What happens here does not stay here.
There it is. So thanks for those parting words, and thanks to all of you for listening at home. We'll see you next time.
Go floss those teeth.